What's up, everyone? This is Go Long with Dunn and Monis at golongtd.com. We're doing well. Hope you're doing well. This is always fueled by our friends at Fatty Beer Company. Jim is in Western New York. He's been all over the place, traveling, working this XFL debut, which got off to a rousing start. I loved the first round of games. It was fun. We talked a little bit about it before we dinged record here, but love the rules. I mean, this is all stuff the NFL should absolutely implement ASAP.
This is where, by the way, it's good to be. I have been everywhere lately. XFL, little HBCU combine in New Orleans that was on NFL
That's right.
Network the other day. Yeah, so just been doing a lot work wise, which is always good. I am interested to hear feedback on the onside kick, the fourth and 15. As far as is
Yeah.
that a
The lack
realistic
thereof.
or like is that a realistic thing for the NFL to think about adopting? I'm asking, like in your mind, I think they should at least really consider that. And number one point for this rule was let the highest paid player, fourth and 15, your quarterback, let him determine the outcome of a comeback more than the kicker, who's going to just try to do some trick that he's learned and practice in the offseason when they set the ball up crazy off the tee. And that would be where I really get excited about some of the different rules and the replays were a big talk. Dean Blandino in the booth and going through how they replay and talk about replays. I don't know, how interested that is to you, but I thought it was some good inside stuff. But
I loved all the changes. I mean, even hearing
yeah,
Greg Williams between the plays, I just kept waiting for him to say,
so,
cut the head off the snake and the body will die. Like, he should have just thrown one of those in while he's calling plays for the viewers.
or like had a defense named it just to like mess with like
Yeah.
that's the name of a certain defense, like head off.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The fourth and 15, love it. The AJ McCarron game was exhilarating. I mean, that's the fact
that's
that we can
because of
say that
the
out loud. The AJ McCarron game was exhilarating. That tells you everything you need to know about the first weekend of the X. It was fun. I mean, I had it on, so I had the kids. It was like 16-3. And I'm like, all right, you know what? They don't really want to watch Bluey or Matilda or whatever we're into these days right now. We're just going to
right.
play on the back part of the basement. So we're like building blocks and playing with Sonny's train set. And then I just kind of snuck the XFL game on in the background. And, so I'm kind of watching it in the peripheral. All of a sudden, they go down and score. They run the 3-point play, right? I think that's what happened. And then they do the fourth and 15 to get the ball back. And I just had all those flashbacks to A.J. McCarron's comeback win for the Bills in the fourth preseason game. And hey, if you like football, if you like the ups and the downs and the drama, I mean, this was for you. There were some incredible athletic plays made throughout the weekend,
Yeah,
like some legit awesome catches by
yeah,
receivers, like and some in names that kind of like, oh yeah, I remember Hakeem Butler, right? Cody
right.
Latimer. It's like, oh my God, yeah, I remember these guys. It was there's a little recent nostalgia there, but no, great job with everything, Jim. You guys have a really good thing cooking, and everybody out there, make sure you keep watching football, right? I mean,
That's what
that's
it
the
is,
thing.
Tyler.
There's no off season in the NFL, and on the field, there's no off season as well with the XFL right now.
That's exactly. I love how you said that. If you love watching football, I think it's a worthwhile product to watch. It's good football. It's a good product. These guys are good. These guys are really talented, good football players.
Brian Hill, he had some hard runs. He's a good back, right? He was
Wyoming,
with the Falcons for a bit.
yeah, he's an old ex Wyoming running back. I was still in the
Yeah,
NFL when he was coming out. I remember looking at him. Always had just a big, good looking, good back with some straight line. Had some big runs in college. Still doing it here. So yeah, I always
absolutely.
think running backs. That's a position. It's just a position in general that you like. I think there's enough been talked about with running backs. Not the value. I hate that they're not valuable anymore in the draft or wherever you take them. You could do that for every position. They're valuable. I think that the key word is, can you find them? Are they easier to find? Maybe a guy that can be valuable for your team, because running backs can fit a style and
Yeah.
be successful, if that makes sense. Like there's certain coaches that, hey, that back, the way he's a one cut downhill, that's my blocking style. Shady McCoy, he might not be, well, he should be for everybody. He's an elite, but that style, the make you miss style, that's not for every running, that's not for every O-line coach. Like I remember we struggled with that in New Orleans with Reggie Bush, as far as our line was like early in his career, people were saying, they're saying, hey, he's just got to hit it. He's got to hit it, hit it. I kept hearing that from Doug Marrone, hit the hole, hit the hole. You hear that in high school. You heard it in the NFL with Reggie Bush. Yeah. And you're like, Reggie Bush never had to hit the hole. Think about that. His whole life, nobody was ever telling him to hit the hole. They were just giving him the ball.
Yeah, give him the ball and get the hell out of the way.
Go. Here, Reggie, here, take it. Boom. Probably just snap it to him half the time. And that's an adjustment for players, the great ones like that. And running back to that whole point with running back, there is an art to it, and you can fit a system. So I think guys like that in the XFL and any level running backs, I think you can find them to fit your system.
I'm just thinking of Le'Veon Bell. It was so great covering him at his peak when I was at Bleacher Report, and talking to him, and he really believed, I'm changing the position like Steph Curry with the 3-point shot. More running backs are going to be patient. I mean, he would come to a standstill behind his offensive lineman, kind of let everything work itself out, and then hit his hole. I remember Ramon Foster, who is great in radio down in Nashville now. He was one of the linemen, and he was always so open and honest about it. I mean, this is right when Le'Veon Bell's 2,000 scrimmage yards, an MVP candidate. He's like, man, I love it. It's great. But sometimes I just want to tell you to hit that damn hole. It's right there. But there's an art to it. He was able to kind of find a synergy with his line. And I mean, not to go down a Le'Veon Bell rabbit hole, but it's just too bad. It's too bad that it couldn't work out. I mean, he just gave up a year of his football life for a good cause, more money for a position of great value, like you said. But missing a year, going to the Jets, everything kind of fell apart. And honestly, instead of seeing him box, I wish he was in shape to be in the XFL. I would love to see Le'Veon Bell in the XFL. That'd be fun.
He's probably I don't know what he got paid to box. It might be why he's boxing. It had to be worthwhile for him to do that. I can't imagine why he would do that unless it was worthwhile. But to your point, like his style, that used to drive us as scouts crazy because is this what guys are going to try to do now? Is every running back going to try this patient running style that we keep? Look, it's not for elite is elite. It's not for everybody. Like you can try to be Steph Curry or Dame from half court if you want. It's not for everybody.
Well, this episode, I feel like we have to start with the quarterback position, Jim. We wrapped up the Super Bowl last week. Since that point, there's been quite a bit of quarterback deliberations over at golongtd.com with Bob McGinn. I'm sure you heard the bomb that Bob dropped on Friday.
You guys had to, you were being a little, I felt like when you went kind of, not incognito, but like when you go into that like cave like mentality, like Jim, I got something brewing. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what this is. Like,
we went into our own 4 days of darkness, just talking about the darkness.
You and Bob did your.
Well, I've said it before, but I mean, I really didn't know that was coming from Bob. I mean, he's like, hey, we had this scheduled to talk about the Packers, and then right before we hit record, he's like, hey, T, do you think we can just talk about Aaron Rodgers this episode, and then we'll pick up on a second episode about the team? I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm not going to stop you there, Bob. And he said what he said. I'm not, everybody probably has listened or read the news, but Aaron Rodgers is not in Green Bay's plans, per Bob McGinn, as he really clarified on our second podcast that's posted this morning. It's his instincts are part of it, but that's a minuscule part of it. He's had direct conversations with people in the know with intimate knowledge of the Packers' inner workings and how they're building this team and what they're doing next. So, I mean, he's covered football since 1979. He's as connected as anybody I know. I get it. There's criticism out there. Oh, he hasn't been on the day-to-day beat for a few years. There are creative ways to cover pro football beyond the press conference, right? Beyond what is poll tested and sanitized and decided upon in darkroom meetings ahead of time. I don't know. I'm pretty anti press conference. When I write these stories that go along, Jim, I don't want to lean into press conferences at all. I want it to be one-on-one conversations with players, with sources. I think that the fans deserve it. Fans filling these stadiums, they need more than just garbage at a podium. So, if that's what you want, by all means, right? I mean, Bob caught some criticism from some of the local radio people out there. They're ripping him out. How can he say this? This is a dude who's been covering the game for a long time, the team for a long time. He is connected. And right now, and Bob said this, it could change. This is a human business. Mark Murphy could get weak in the knees. There could be conversations had that make them change their mind. But right now, Green Bay is done with Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay is going to start Jordan Love. We've got the Jordan Love story up as well, if you want to learn about him and why they feel so confident in him. But that's where it starts, right? I mean, the Jets can tell Derek Carr that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Diana Russini had the report at ESPN that, they're just wooing him and telling him how he could be a legend if he comes to the Jets. To my knowledge, they did not offer him a contract. So, and I would imagine it's because we want to take a look at Aaron Rodgers if Aaron Rodgers is available, and we hired Nathaniel Hackett as a means of reeling him in. It starts with Aaron Rodgers. The Jimmy Garoppolo stuff. Name your quarterback. Who am I forgetting, Jim? I mean, it's another.
It was Carr, Garoppolo.
I mean, Lamar's his own deal.
Lamar is his own deal. I wasn't going to bring I don't consider him. Those are the big. Yeah, who are we forgetting?
Daniel Jones is an interesting case. Geno Smith.
I want to get into him too. I saw a great. Yeah, we're going to get into him too.
Baker Mayfield's obviously about to.
Yeah.
About
anyway,
to
we're back to Carr. Back to Carr and Rodgers.
But that's the thing. So here's what's funny though. It's like all of these quarterbacks. I mean, Carr's doing his visits. He's going around. These teams probably like him. He probably likes them. Nothing happens until Green Bay's situation with Aaron Rodgers is settled, and he just goes into the darkness for 4 days and eats out of a mail slot. I mean, do you think he's just screwing with everybody with that?
No.
I mean, is he legitimately contemplating retirement? I don't think so.
Oh, I do.
Think he is?
I think it's so. I don't know what more he could get from going. Here's one thing I don't like right now that's going around. I feel like they're just plugging in Carr or plugging in Aaron Rodgers to the Jets makes the Jets. I keep hearing they're an instant playoff team. No, they're not. They haven't done anything. Like, that division is insane how tough that division is now, the AFC East. I'm talking about what the Jets are good, but you have to show up against Miami, obviously the Bills. Those two teams right there are legit playoff teams. And the Patriots, you have to show up to play. Like, they're not a walkover win. So that's your division. And you can't just assume. So I'm sick of that comment. Like, just because Rodgers or Carr go to the Jets, they're going to be a playoff team. They're still in the AFC. And why would Aaron Rodgers? Why? I just don't know why you would want to leave the NFC at this point. Makes zero sense to me. I'm sorry.
Green Bay wouldn't want him in the NFC.
With Green Bay, I wouldn't want him in the NFC. But if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm not leaving. Like, I'm either playing in Green Bay or I think I'm done. I just don't see what the point is to go to the AFC. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's good enough right now to outplay what's going on in the AFC with Burrow, Josh Allen, obviously Patrick Mahomes. And we're still not talking about Lamar and Herbert, who are knocking right there.
Tua.
Yeah.
I agree on the NFC, AFC. There's just such a discrepancy of talent at the quarterback position. And that's where I think that's why we're seeing this this game of semantics and wordplay with these various leaks and reports. Because I think Green Bay, I believe Bob wholeheartedly that they are ready to move on with Jordan Love. at the same time, there's a lot of moving parts here. They've got to find a trade partner. They've got to work out that $59 million. Who pays what?
It's a
It starts
nightmare.
with Rodgers' intentions. Does he want to play? Does he not want to play? Does he want to demand a
Mm-hmm.
trade? There's a lot of variables in this equation, but it is telling that they right now have reached this place of we're ready to go with Jordan Love. And if you want to learn why, we get into it. I mean, the year 2 to year 3 jump he took behind the scenes was substantial. With Steve Calhoun, with Matt LaFleur, we saw it in the exhibition games. We saw it in the Philly game. They see it in practice. He worked with the number one team the last month of the season, so they're in that place. That's why I think that they'll find a way to work something out. I've heard both arguments. And I want to hear yours. I've heard Bob has said, look, Green Bay has all the leverage here because look, if Aaron Rodgers if he wants to play, if he wants to show up, if he wants to call their bluff and say, I'm still going to play football for you, Green Bay, if they have a backbone, can still say, we're starting Jordan Love. You're the backup. What's Aaron Rodgers going to do? Run on the field and rip Jordan Love's, helmet off and put the thing in? Like, no, like if they really do want to play Jordan Love, they'll just play him and start him. And Rodgers could ride the bench and risk that humiliation and damage to the fan base and all that stuff. I don't think he'd let it get to that point. He saw what Brett Favre went through. And that's why I think at that point, if Green Bay in those closed door meetings, if they're that adamant that we're moving forward with Jordan Love, just like they were that adamant to Brett Favre, we're moving forward with Aaron Rodgers. The parallels are insane. They told Brett Favre, yeah, you can compete for the job or be a backup. And here they are possibly doing the same thing. I think Aaron Rodgers is smart enough to, if he wants to play football, be open to a trade. And then it's a matter of, okay, where? Hackett, the Jets, that roster. I think it makes a lot of sense for Green Bay to get him out of the NFC. And I think that push comes to shove, that Aaron Rodgers would accept that trade. I mean, Raiders too. He loves Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams is going to put that sales pitch on.
That's fine.
I think one of those two teams, I get it. I get what you're saying about the AFC and all the quarterbacks, all of that. But this is also a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers who just told Pat McAfee, I can still play at an MVP level. And if he genuinely believes that, which that's up for debate with all of us, but if he believes it, maybe he isn't afraid of the AFC.
He can certainly play. He is no question still top 10, whatever, however you want to rank him. You can win with Aaron Rodgers is capable. I don't know if he's MVP quality right now. If he can just put you on his back, he's plenty good enough to win a Super Bowl with. So I believe that when we break down his career, he's had opportunities. Like, it's not like he hasn't had opportunities. Number one seeds, doesn't win. Like, I'm kind of over the wherever he goes, they're just going to be great at this point. I'm over that. Like, yeah, he's good enough and go after him if you need him. But to me, for him, it should be Green Bay or retire. I just don't see. I'm saying all this, and of course, he's wherever he goes, he'll win a Super Bowl for the first whatever. But I just don't see why he would want to leave. I still think his best chance to get to the Super Bowl is in Green Bay.
That's the assumption.
If that's
that
what
Super
matters
Bowls
to
are
him,
the
though,
goal.
Tyler. I don't know if that's what matters to him, though. Does the Super Bowl matter to Aaron Rodgers right now? Is that what matters?
I think
I don't
he
know.
genuinely likes the idea of playing an entire career with one team. I think he's actually brought up Kobe Bryant before in the Lakers, and that stuff probably matters to him.
If it does, then I think that if he stays consistent with that, Green Bay or retire.
But if he doesn't want to retire, if he believes he has football left, and so if it's just Green Bay and Green Bay is adamant, we're starting Jordan Love, then what does Aaron do? What does he think?
I don't think he can do. I mean, I think it's either his job. I don't think he can. No, it's if he's back, he should be the starter.
All right.
Aaron Rodgers should not be a backup to Jordan Love.
Are you sure you're part of this Go Long podcast? This is a very Jordan Love friendly space, Jim.
I can't wait to watch Jordan Love, to be honest with you. Whenever it is, I am excited to watch him because I've heard enough from you and then people I, obviously value in the scouting world when he was coming out. And I value, and Green Bay drafted him for a reason. Obviously, they were ready to move on from Aaron Rodgers when they drafted Jordan Love. Okay, that was them telling us they are ready. They had seen enough, they had enough. And then, he kept them hanging with the number one seed,
Well,
MVP style play. Right. I don't think the Love thing, I still don't think that drove Aaron Rodgers to some MVP. Aaron Rodgers was great every year of his
it didn't
career.
hurt. It didn't hurt.
It's
It
fair
pissed them
enough.
off.
Whatever that is, I'm fine with that. The guy was great from every time he's played, and he still is, better than Jordan Love. And if you have both of them, you're playing Aaron Rodgers. If that's the case, all these other teams will be begging for Jordan Love.
And that's where it gets interesting too, because I get the sense that if they welcome Aaron Rodgers back, Jordan Love's going to ask for a trade.
Fair.
I think he's going to say enough is enough. I don't want to be a backup for 4 straight years. It's either I'm your starter or I'm not your starter.
It's true.
And Steve Calhoun, he's his mentor, 8th grade on. He's coached him. He's a father figure for him. We've gotten to know him really, really well through stories, Q&As. He came on a happy hour one time. He out of nowhere brought this up. He's like, this is interesting. He goes, this was brought up to me by someone. Would you rather have a Bryce Young, a CJ Stroud, a Will Levis, one of these rookie quarterbacks who's untested, who hasn't played against NFL speed, or Jordan, or somebody who's been developing for 3 years? He goes, I just think that's interesting. That's the way he basically worded it. And he's basically saying, okay, Green Bay, if you're going to stick with Aaron Rodgers, you better put Jordan on that trade block. You might get a lot for him. You really might. I think it would be idiotic that's where I think that's the bad business decision if you're Green Bay, to throw away what you've spent all of this time developing. I mean, that was the whole
100%.
point of the Jordan Love pick. You don't want him to play right away. You generally don't have to play him right away. I mean, how many times do these coaches and GMs stand there after they draft a quarterback and they say, well, we're not going to play him. The schlub we signed back in March, he's our guy, not this rookie we just drafted. And then you end up playing the rookie because your team stinks after 5 weeks. Green Bay didn't have to do any of that.
No.
So you're like, the plan was sound. The plan was smart. Yeah. And now it's the time. Yeah. It's time to rip the Band-Aid off. And that's what makes it so fascinating.
And I'm fine with that too, because like we said before, they invested in Jordan Love. And they told us they were ready to move on from Aaron Rodgers a couple of years ago. And they should, if they feel strongly, do it. It's the unopened pack of baseball cards growing up. If you're in our, man, you don't know what you have. You want to open that pack so bad. Like, you just never know who's in that pack. And
yeah, it's a perfect analogy. Yeah, Jordan Love is like he's wax right now. He's a Prism wax pack, and it's like it's valuable. You could put that on eBay. Somebody might buy it. But don't you want to open it? Don't you? That's the thrill of the rip. You want to open that pack and see what you got, don't you? I do.
They invested in him, and yes. So,
oh my God, Jim, that's perfect. You know what? I probably shouldn't say this out loud. All right, so during COVID, sports cards blew up. Right, we probably talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, you were telling me you were getting into that again.
I mean, I was dormant since I was a kid in middle school, let alone high school, collecting cards, and I had a lot. And so one of my buddies, he listens to the podcast, Rich Lukasic, he's into cards, and they came over at some point during COVID. He's like, "Do you have any old cards?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're back here somewhere, and back at my parents' in Salamanca." He's like, "You should probably go through those," and so go through them, and end up selling a bunch on eBay. And then obviously it's like the gateway drug right back into buying wax and cards. And so like this was the Zion Ja Morant draft for the NBA. I mean, I'm talking basketball cards too. And that was really what got cards back as well, as COVID kind of coincided with, the hype of Zion and Ja Morant and like Luka the year before. I mean, the card prices are insane. I mean, I think a Luka card had sold for in the millions, just ridiculous numbers. So there's like one that's called a Prism Choice box. It's only 8 cards, but like every single card is like a hit, like an autograph and like a silver prism and all these things that maybe our listeners have no idea what I'm talking about. But it's like really, really valuable. And, I made a little money selling some of my old cards on eBay. So that's how I justified it. I bought one of these boxes for like at Dave and Adams for, I don't know, 500 something. It was a lot, but I sold a lot. So that's how I'm justifying it. And I ripped it, did pretty well, got like a Kobe silver, not much else, but it justified getting it. And then I made the mistake of like a year later going on eBay and seeing with that wax how much it's like selling for, I don't know, $2,500, 3,000, something insane. So in that case, I should have not even touched it, just bought it for whatever it was, which seemed like a lot, but really wasn't a lot, put it away. And that's Jordan Love right now. At what point do you unwrap Jordan Love and see what he can do as a football player? Maybe Green Bay was smart. Hey, I thought they should have just played him earlier, go through your ups and downs like a Jalen Hurts. Maybe they were smart to leave this box of cards unopened for 3 years. And now he's unbelievably valuable. Now you do want to open him up and see what you have. I don't think you want to leave it in the closet collecting dust much longer than this, Jim.
No, because here's the issue where the comparison might not be good. Because with baseball cards, you could open those probably 5 or 10 years later. And that if that card is in there, it's going to be worth something. Jordan Love needs to play football. It's for his career, for his career. He needs to play, whether it's Green Bay somewhere. And they invested in him. They drafted him. They want to see him. They were excited about him from the start. So I believe that they want to either move on or Aaron commit to us, and then maybe we have to shop Jordan. That would be a tough, tough decision, though.
That would fly in the face.
Jordan Love.
I mean, it really would be a big FU to your own philosophy of building a football team. I mean, Green Bay, back to Ted Thompson, even back to Ron Wolf. I mean, they were masterful at letting a player go 1 or 2 years early as opposed to 1 or 2 years too late. I mean, that's kind of how, you were in New Orleans, Sean Payton, right? He kind of got rid of a lot of those veterans. And you got to make hard choices, is what I'm saying as a GM. Ted made those hard choices. Ron Wolf made those hard choices. Brian Gutekunst was making those hard choices. And then it gets to Aaron Rodgers. The MVP seasons kind of throw a wrench into how you think about team building. But then they go 8-9. He goes 2 of 6 for 12 yards with an interception in the fourth quarter of a game you absolutely have to win to make the playoffs. He's not the same quarterback.
No, he's not.
What makes him great is gone. That connection with a veteran receiver, with all those built-in audibles to your hard wiring. You're seeing the same thing. You don't have that. And he's unwilling to work with your young receivers in the offseason. And that was the big caveat in the Darlington and Pelissero reports is they talked to sources in and around the Packers that said they want Aaron Rodgers back if he's bought in. Like,
committed.
That's a big caveat because he wasn't last year. He was not.
And they need that from him because of Jordan Love. Because they know what they've invested in with Jordan. They know what they believe in with his ability and talent. And they're looking at Aaron Rodgers like, hey, man, look, we want you. Our way of saying we want you is by this contract we're giving you. Can you at least show us you want us at this point?
We're paying you the richest contract in football. Like maybe it's worth working with your receivers.
And I don't care about that as far as I don't believe that that's a reason. I really don't.
I know. As I was writing that in my story and comparing it to Mahomes and Fort Worth, I wanted your opinion on it because we differ on this. I really think that, Greg Bishop, Connor Orr wrote the excellent Super Bowl game story. And a big part of that was in the spring after Tyreek Hill was traded, a bold move by Andy Reid, Brett Veach to build for the future, thinking ahead, getting these picks. You bring in Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, draft Sky Moore, a lot of new faces. Mahomes brings everybody down to Fort Worth, Texas, and gives them a crash course in the offense. And Mahomes believes this is a big reason that they were able to play so well, so early with a completely new. Granted, you got Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce isn't in Green Bay. It's an imperfect comparison. I get that.
No,
Kelce makes, but maybe it would have helped. Maybe, if you're interested in winning Super Bowls, it would have helped.
I think it could, certainly, if it's a weak thing, if Mahomes, like, yes, I'm not saying it's going to hurt anything to show up or work out with your receivers. It can't hurt. And it's a great thing as a leader. And if you're only doing it for 4 days in the off season, it goes a long way with your teammates. Everything I agree with. I'm not saying, I just don't feel like it's necessary, but it certainly is something a leader would do. Yeah, I hear all that with Mahomes, and I'm with you. Go ahead.
I just real quick to jump in. I mean, it's all in the story I have up. There's one wide receiver on the Packers, and I laid it out just as I did to you here. I mean, what would that have benefited you if Aaron Rodgers did what Patrick Mahomes did with you, with his receivers? Quote, I would have loved that opportunity to put that work in with him. I was dying for that in the offseason, and it would have been better for us for sure. He felt it was best for him to get what he needed. And then he continued to say that Aaron Rodgers thought they could just kind of pick it up in training camp and go. This is a receiver. This is somebody he's not anti Aaron by any means. He loves Aaron Rodgers. He had no problem with Aaron Rodgers calling out players on McAfee early in the season either. He's just being blunt and saying, I'm in this offense. It would have helped. It would have helped.
I think it goes a long way as a leader. I do. I think it goes a long way. I still, when I think of the Chiefs Super Bowl, though, everything I think of, I don't think of any of those guys other than Kelsey. I still think it's Mahomes and Kelsey.
That's a good point.
Like, just like Aaron might just been like, yeah, well, I'm used to just Devontae. Well, he didn't have him this year.
Well, okay, fine. You need the stud
like maybe
to make
now
it go.
You need right. That might have been
all right.
the
Then,
year.
All right, Aaron, can give us 20 mil of that 59 mil. We'll go get you a star. Is he going to do that?
I'm with you. Like, to your point, that's what I'm saying. Like,
that's where I empathize with Green Bay. They're sitting there like, Aaron, we'd love to get you a Devontae. We just paid you the 59 mil guaranteed for this year.
Honestly, though, if I was Green Bay right now, I would make the hard decision. I've invested. They know more than we do about. I'm going off of everything that I have watched with him on tape and listened to you, to be honest with you, and Bob, to know. I think it's run its course. I think for Aaron Rodgers, I'm not the believer that he's going to a Super Bowl again. I don't believe that. Not what I'm watching from these other quarterbacks in the NFL right now, that they're just wide. The gap is just going this way. You know what I mean? I feel like Aaron's going the other way, and the rest are just – he's still good enough to win with. I still think his best option is Green Bay, and I'll say that. But if I'm Goody, if I'm Brian Gutekunst, and I invested in Jordan Love, and Aaron Rodgers has been messing with us for the last couple of years now, and the results aren't showing up, I'm moving on. I need to find out about Jordan Love. It's an easy – I mean, you invested in him. You got to find out.
Look at the playoffs, Jim. All the quarterbacks, they were like 2,500, basically. I mean, they're all young. All these quarterbacks are young. All of them. It's a young man's game.
And we mess around with the NFC a little bit as far as not being as strong, but, man, it's not like it's easy. I mean, right. What do you – San Fran is loaded. I mean, we know they're going to be back competing right in it. Philly is loaded. They're going to be right back in it. There's no easy path. I don't want to hear. That's why
Brian Daboll and Joe Shane are gonna figure stuff out this offseason. They're only going to get better.
They're going to get better. The NFC's. I agree with you. All this, and that's what I'm saying. I think it should be Green Bay for Aaron Rodgers if he's committed to Green Bay, or he should retire. I think. I'm just tired of just anointing him a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
wherever he goes.
You know what's just wild? I heard this from somebody like intimately involved with the pick and that 2020 draft and all of that. They wanted Justin Jefferson. I really believe that. I think Green Bay wanted Justin Jefferson in 2020. I mean, they wanted Love. They traded up for Love, right? But I do think that if they could have gotten their hands on Jefferson, that would have been the pick. And then who knows what we're even talking about now? Like, if you give Justin Jefferson to Aaron Rodgers, when he's winning MVPs with Devontae Adams,
with Adams,
Oh man.
Yeah, that's an
Yeah.
old man is right. So
That's
that's
why
our
the
Aaron
draft is
Rodgers.
important. That's why we got to talk about the draft here soon too.
Yeah,
It's
it's coming. It's coming. Draft
coming.
craziness is coming. I can't believe it's coming.
Well, I think that's probably good on the Aaron Rodgers
Yeah,
team.
I feel I
So
know. But we haven't really talked about it, and it is a unique situation. I mean, it really is.
it is. It's going to be interesting at the combine. I'll be there in Indianapolis. The Packers allegedly. I mean, they'll talk to the media. I don't really know what they will say, what they can say, where their conversations are with Aaron Rodgers. Uh, but that's going to be their first public comments on this all. So we'll
The
be there to
mandatory Indy GM head coach.
yeah. Very rarely is substantive information gleaned. It's going to be more about them saying the right thing to not screw up what they're trying to do behind the scenes. Because why in the hell would they stand there at a press conference and tell the world, yeah, we're ready to move on? I mean, then you kill your draft leverage. I mean, Bob made that point on our latest podcast. Sometimes people don't realize that. Like these other reports are coming out and they're going after me and Bob. Oh, what do you think about this? Well, what do I think about it? I highly doubt that they wanted people to know this information that Bob had. That's what I think. Isn't that obvious? I don't know. Twitter makes everybody kind of dumb, including myself. But that's where they're at, and we'll see if they stick with their decision.
So
That's their
at the
decision right
combine, if
now.
you want to find out what's going on at the combine, you either need to put try to bug, whatever the word would be, your cameras set up at what's the steakhouse? Elmo's. Go
And
downstairs at
Prime
Elmo's.
47 too.
All those steakhouses, right? On all that chain steakhouse row. But if you really want to know, all the suites at the combine that are occupied by each team, right? That's where stuff's getting that there is some discussions in those suites.
Because
A
there's just
lot.
the team, one team per suite. Like they're just in their own
Yep.
little world.
And usually all the area scouts are kind of out in the stands, doing all their timing, and then the decision makers are sitting up top, chatting away. And
Bill Belichick's
trust me,
falling asleep, right?
a lot of discussions are because free agency
Yeah.
is getting ready to jump off, and you are meeting with agents out there, and there is so much you're getting ready to do at night with agents and players. And hey, can you walk down, go talk to that team 3 doors down, see if they're interested. I mean, that's what
That's
we were
what's going
doing.
on.
That's what I was doing with Denver.
But Jim, wasn't that was tampering then? That's completely illegal.
You can talk. What's that little window they say? Isn't there like they give
Right,
like
the legal tampering, like
legal window?
oh my god, when the NFL gets all
Anyway,
bureaucratic, like then has rules that they know that you're going to break.
like it's just
It's
when the
like the
NCAA,
miles. It's like driving 9 miles over the speed limit. Like
it's just like the
if everybody's
NCAA.
doing it, you're going to pull everybody over.
Exactly. They pick the funniest things to actually like.
I
Hey, we're
know.
going to let you guys. Hey, college, you guys can pay these guys now. Now you can pay them. They've been paying them. Hey, the NFL. Hey, we'll give you these 3 days. Okay, thanks.
But then the things that they get all, on their high horse about and act like a monarchy. Like Jamal Williams swivels his hips in the end zone, and he's getting fined left and right. But Rihanna, yes, our halftime show. You can absolutely pretend to finger yourself and then smell your fingers. That's great. We want our 120 million viewers to see that. Like, the hypocrisy is all I have a problem with. Just be consistent.
Yeah,
At
consistent.
least attempt to be consistent. You don't even have to
Consistency.
be, but at least show you're trying.
Exactly. At least show a little. Because guess what? It doesn't matter. Let Jamal Williams and Rihanna do whatever they want. It's awesome. Let them be free. They're entertainers. They are professional entertainers. That is what you're paying all of them to do.
Yeah.
Football is entertainment.
Okay.
I will never understand holding back entertainers that's what we're watching. We want to see that.
It's like they're almost schizophrenic with this whole celebrating thing. 1 year they hate it, they're cracking down, they don't want it. 1 year they love it. NFL Network's playing the best celebrations of the week, and this is something we're promoting. I don't know, like which is it? Which it's like what is a catch? We don't really know. 1 year, if you got your hand under it, but the ball touches, it's okay. Next year, absolutely. I feel like maybe the social mediaification of the game and all these different camera angles that we get of everything, we're over analyzing and over thinking all of these rules. But I feel like in the '90s, there were bad calls in the '90s. Don't get me wrong. The Jerry Rice fumbled and Vinny Testaverde was short. I mean, you can think of the iconic moments where they needed replay or they got it dead wrong, but it wasn't like game to game, drive to. It feels like it's drive to drive. There's just questionable call.
I feel like if social media was the way it was in the 80s, 90s, I have a feeling it would have been a mess, just like with replays. And I think we would have been having all these I think we just didn't know about all these plays that we just didn't see them all like we see now.
Right.
That's how I look at it. I really do believe that. It's just not a sport you can play clean. It's a hard sport to play. And now they're trying to make guys not be physical or touch a player if you're on defense. You can't ever think like corners in the 80s and 90s obviously could lock guys up. That would be the biggest difference I've seen in the game. That is, you're asking to play corner, to play defense is almost impossible now. It really is.
If we viewed the sport through the lens of, a few Martians just landed on our planet and they don't know anything and they're watching this game, what would seem okay to them? What would seem not? And let's just try to simplify our consumption of what is a catch, what is holding.
I think they would be more confused on why was that player allowed to light him up, but then that was a penalty when he landed on him softly.
I know.
Wait, he didn't land on him softly enough, but the play before that guy just lit him up.
Yeah, Martians would know. They would have no idea what is going on.
So can you be physical or not? What if you try to explain to them there has to be a certain amount of players on the line of scrimmage?
Yeah. Well, I didn't like the holding call at the end of the Super Bowl on Bradbury, but even like Nick Bolton, he should have had a second defensive touchdown. That looked like a catch, a fumble, like one team to the other team. Yeah. That's why I have a hard time feeling too bad for Philly because you got one there.
That was my point. Like I think you can always, one play is hard to break down one play. That's just hard for me to think that determines the outcome. It was just such a timely thing. That I get the timely part of that. I do.
Can we hit on some of these other quarterbacks?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, because I
really want
felt
to.
Bad. We went hard on Aaron there.
Because Derek Carr he's a compelling figure because he really is whatever you want him to be. You can look at his career with the Raiders and say, they hired a GM off of television and Mike Mayock. They hired a head coach to this like monstrosity of a contract, and then he ends up getting fired because of his awful emails. They've never really had a defense. Really. They had Khalil Mack in his prime for a little bit, but even those defenses weren't any good. Their defenses are trash every year. But he did have Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller. He had weapons. You have a lot of fourth quarter comebacks mixed in there, a lot of game-winning drives. He has these moments where, Derek Carr is that guy. Like he gets players to rally around him. They love playing for this guy. And then there's moments like that Pittsburgh game last season where, oh my God, how do you not win that game? He had every opportunity. So before I share any thoughts I have, let's hear from the NFL longtime personnel man himself, Jim Monos.
Carr's probably one of the most fascinating players, like in our discussion groups and, guys I talk to as far as ex-NFL employees and we still follow the sport. Carr is one that coming out of college was a very heavily talked about player. Like, not like, is he the guy? Ton of ability, tough, I think. See, that's the part with Carr sometimes that bugs me because the one thing you hear about him on the big moments, big games, does he have that grit or is he the one throwing? Is he the one hurting their team with some of those crazy picks he's had in big games? We've all seen it. I think I'm sold on Carr being a good quarterback in the NFL. I think he's a good starting quarterback that you can win with, obviously. I think everything else just has to be in place. I know we're just anointing the Jets as that team. I still don't think everything's in place for the Jets. I think they have obviously some pieces that look good. But once again, yeah, Carr is a guy that I think at your price, you go after. But if you think he's the answer again, I think you're wrong. Like, I just think you have to do it at your price. I don't think he's willing. There's certain guys you're going to overpay for, right? I'm fine with that. I don't think he's an overpay guy. I don't. I don't think he drastically makes that your team. I think you want him, but it has to be for you at your price. And if he wants it, win-win.
63 and 79 as a starter. I know wins and losses aren't a quarterback stat,
but
yeah. His numbers are. I mean, they always look pretty good. Even last season when he went 6-9.
How many playoff games has he played in? Does it say right there? Sometimes at the bottom.
He's played in one playoff game.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, you can.
One.
Like I said, go ahead and go after him.
But the year he could have won MVP when he broke his leg. Obviously, he could have been the MVP that season.
Good point.
When he broke his leg against the Colts on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
They were going to be the number one seed. They get in the fourth quarter. He
there
rallied them, and then it went up in smoke. And then and granted that 2021 run was impressive. They lost to Cincinnati in the wild card, but they get in that crazy Chargers game. It's just I like Carr. I think in the right. I totally agree. Right situation, right team around him. But I keep coming back to this being this is a young man's position and a young man's game, and you do need a quarterback that can do some of the athletic stuff, the RPO. I like having some semblance of that as a threat, which Jordan Love has.
I agree with you again, and and it's why Daniel Jones and we can get into him a little bit too. But it's what really makes him valuable is his ability to run in the red zone. That he and Saquon, he and any quarterback that can run in the red zone is a nightmare. But I saw a great article by Warren Sharp, who I follow and think he does some great, and he does so much with analytics that's all I really care about is analytics. And his Daniel Jones breakdown, I think it was out yesterday or today. I read it this morning. It's pretty impressive. It's basically what he's saying. He's not a good quarterback from the 20 to the 20, but inside the red zone, he made up some gaps this year in stats that really had a lot to do with Saquon. But that 20 to 20, he's not playing very well. And you hear me every week say, I don't believe in him as a franchise guy. And I think that's what it is I don't see the special throws from Daniel Jones to give me the confidence to say he's the guy. I've seen more special runs from him that make me think, okay, you can do some stuff with Daniel Jones. But that passing and the down in, down out, 20 to 20, as Warren Sharp points out, you need to see that from him. And the last guy we need to talk about, and I want to hear your stuff on all these guys, but the one guy I would overpay for and go crazy on right now, but he's not going anywhere, is Lamar Jackson. And I love what Baltimore is doing. New quarterback coach, new offensive coordinator. They are committing to what they know they have. And it's special what they have. You can't find it. Get rid of Greg Roman. You can find Greg Roman. James Urban, the quarterback coach. I've known James. I played against him in high school back in Harrisburg. Known James for a long time. He's a hell of a football coach. Guess what? Move on. Lamar has made his voice. He wants some new voices. Like Lamar wants to hear some new voices. I think Baltimore is getting ready to commit to him.
You do.
I do.
Term. I think money.
By them, I think the coordinator and the new quarterback coach is saying, here we go. This is our last chance. They know the window is now with Lamar. Lamar's going to hit an age when the legs go, like Cam.
Probably moves that they should have made 1 or 2 years prior, but they're making them.
Fair enough.
You would have to think they need more complexity to their wide receiver game, the pass
Everything.
routes,
They need to revamp. They
more
realize it,
concepts.
no doubt. How many running backs? I don't even know who their running backs. It's game to game. They have 3 new running backs. I feel like they have been a
Yeah.
complete patchwork offense. The best thing for Lamar was that I'm hoping that injury wasn't serious for him this year, but the fact that he could just get out, outstanding for that franchise. They weren't doing anything this year. It wasn't going to happen. They got
Could have
him
been
healthy
best for the
now.
team and the
It
quarterback.
could
You're
be.
right.
And it gave them time to sit back and say, no, he's our guy. Let's get this right.
I love it. That's a great point because that
And I bet
there's
Harbaugh,
gonna
yeah,
no, go
I
ahead.
was just thinking Harbaugh might also be thinking as a head coach. I look at Coach Sean Payton. And once that quarterback is done, they know they're pretty much done unless they have the guy in place, which most people don't. And Harbaugh's probably thinking, well, if I'm coaching here, he's going to need to be my quarterback because I don't know what I'm doing. Even though Huntley was a Pro Bowler, the backup, or not, I said he's not a Pro Bowler, but they
Watch your
I
mouth.
have a feeling that just when a coach is ready to like he's bringing in quarter, those are major hires and firings basically when you move on from them and bring guys in, those are major, and I think that is for one person and one person only. And I like that. I don't know a lot about, I'm not in the building, but I think they're getting T Martin involved with Lamar Jackson. I like a new voice for Lamar. I like that.
Mm.
I don't
I
know.
like
What do
T
you
Martin
think about
too.
that? You think I'm blowing that out? You think I'm making that a bigger deal than it is?
No, I think
I
you're
might be.
absolutely spot on. I love the way you broke it down. I mean, it brings me back to Willie Snead, coming on to go along for that Q&A. I think we even put that interview in this podcast feed, but he was blunt. He was a wide receiver in that offense. He pointed out how simple everything was. He's like, look, that's why veteran receivers don't really want to go there. You don't want to go somewhere and here's your route tree, 1 through 9. There you go. There you have it. Yeah, some of it's on Lamar and his inaccuracies. I think more of it's on the scheme, and that doesn't take anything away from what Greg Roman's doing at the line of scrimmage. He's brilliant with run designs and scheming things up for Lamar. But I think Lamar wants to evolve as a passer and knows for his own longevity that that's going to have to be more of the bread and butter of what makes him a great quarterback. And you can't do it in that scheme with what they were asking their wide receivers to do. Remember Steve Smith going nuts after they lost to Buffalo in the divisional round? I mean, when Steve Smith's on NFL Network. And he just is ripping it as elementary and like trashing Greg Roman. He's not just going off the cuff. He's speaking for players. He's probably speaking for Lamar Jackson to an extent. And that was 2+ years ago at this point, 2 full seasons ago. And nothing changed. So finally something's changing. They're showing Lamar Jackson we are changing. Mark Andrews, as dynamite as he is as a tight end,
That's what
he
I was going
needs
to
some
bring up.
wideouts, right? I mean, Hollywood Brown that was Lamar's guy. Hey, look, they gave Lamar who he wanted at wide receiver. But Marquise Brown told me that. He said, like, they told Lamar, who do you want? And he said, well, I think it was like, yeah, I like Jerry Judy or the next year, or Hollywood Brown. And so and it didn't work out. And Hollywood Brown wanted out because he felt he was being misused. So who they get as their starting wide receivers is the next step. Who's going to be out there? Because last year they had nobodies.
No, and they've messed with that too. I mean, they took Bateman high. That they've messed around trying to get some, but are those the right fits? Like you can't just what does that receiver fit your system? And if your system is confusing in the passing game, then I don't know if you really know the right guy to draft for Greg Roman. Like, is he the right receiver for Greg Roman's offense? I don't know enough to say that. I can tell you it didn't look right.
It didn't. T. Martin having more of a voice is interesting.
I like that. Like I said, it shows I can't stand when teams don't change. If things are the same, like stagnant and they don't change. And for Baltimore, I think they hit a wall. And how do you get over that wall with Lamar? That you have to. And I think they're saying, okay, it's time. Let's get new voices on offense. See what we can do with Lamar with new voices. That's my take on it.
I like it. So they it's like what would your life be without Lamar Jackson? You're completely starting over. John Harbaugh doesn't want to do that. So
Exactly.
whether it's the tag and a long term deal at some
He's gonna do
point,
that, Sean Payton. He's gonna do that. Hey, I'm gonna step away, and then
yeah,
you guys can
and then
trade. Somebody can
take on
trade for
Russell
me.
Wilson.
Well, somebody can trade for me, but
All right, I want to work our way backward. Daniel
go ahead.
Jones, great point on the sharp analysis, and that's where the games are won in the red zone. That's why Brian Daboll is such a great coach. Look at
No
Josh Allen in the
question.
red zone under Daboll. Josh Allen in the red zone without him. I mean, that's
Anthony
where games
Lynn,
that it matters so much more than anything that happens between the 20s.
Anthony Lynn, when he was with us in Buffalo, put me. He used to say to us like he would go for two. He's like Tyrod and Shady. I can get every 2 point conversion every time with those two in the backfield. I'm like, that makes sense to me. Like, how do you defend that on a 2 point conversion? You can't. You really can't.
When you got a
But
quarterback who is a legitimate threat to run,
and Daniel
that's
Jones
why
is
you
that.
cannot underestimate it. Daniel Jones is that. In the
Yes,
RPO
and they
game, and that RPO game it can have its own complexities.
no doubt, no doubt. I'd
And
still, I don't see him being the guy. I've talked about that enough. I don't want to take away from what he's done. Daniel, I do like some things with him. I just think there's a ceiling there that I just don't know if he gets over, if he gets them to that goal, that they want.
that's understandable. I think it's exactly what we talked about late last season when we were dissecting Daniel Jones. It's both sides should be able to get what they want here because I don't even fault Daniel Jones if he genuinely wants 45 million a year. I mean, go for it, try to get every
Go
penny you
for it.
can. People were laughing at him and mocking him, and I would never get all the
No,
money you can. He's not going to get
yes,
it, obviously, but you might as well test the waters. All it takes
test,
is
you
one
never know.
desperate owner, one desperate team. What if the Washington Commanders said, "Yeah, Daniel Jones, whatever you want, baby, come on into town. We'll build the
Yeah,
statues," and then you do it. So you'd be stupid to not. You would be stupid
that's
to not
perfect.
like shoot for the moon and change your agencies like he's doing and go through all of that right now. If you're Daniel Jones, why not do it? What I'm saying is both sides are going to come to their senses and meet in the middle. Daniel Jones doesn't want to go through these different head coaches and offensive coordinators and the hell he had with the Joe Judges and Pat Shermers and Dave Gettlemans of the world. He don't want any of that. He knows he's got a good thing with Brian Dable and Joe Shane, and that now they've got a little more cap flexibility to get him a weapon. Maybe they make a bold move like the Bills did with Diggs, like the Eagles did with A.J. Brown, like the Dolphins did with Tyreek Hill. Maybe they do something like that. And then we can have that conversation about them being a contender. But it also makes sense for the Giants to not get locked into a long-term insane contract because they're going to want to have the flexibility to watch that college film of a Mahomes, somebody like that, and do what Andy Reid did. But he had Alex Smith, Pro Bowl quarterback. He's going to the playoffs with Alex Smith. That's a perfect comparison for Daniel Jones.
I
They're
like
very
that.
similar. And you know what? If Brian Dable's eye for quarterbacks is rare. He sees this college prospect coming up in 2024, 2025, and he trades a future first rounder to move up and get that guy. You want a deal that still kind of allows you that flexibility if you're Daboll and Shane and the Giants. And I think they'll meet in the middle. It might take a little bit, it might take some concessions from Jones because there's probably a team out there that is so needy and desperate that they would give him a longer term deal and give him that security. And it's not going to be no 45 a year. It's probably out there. But it does make, and right, the conversation probably starts and ends with the franchise tag. There it is, right? Just run it back for a year, work on a 3-year deal of some sort. I have a hard time seeing him playing for anybody else but the Giants, especially this season.
I agree. The biggest difference between Alex Smith and Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones didn't rip my heart out when I was with the Saints on that throw to Vernon Davis. Until Daniel
Tough.
Jones has a moment like that in the playoffs, we can't say he's Alex Smith because Alex Smith did some big time plays in the playoffs. Um,
You're right. We don't
but
want to besmirch Alex Smith. He
but
was
to your
a lot
point,
better than
but
he
to
got
your
credit
point,
for.
but to your point, talent wise, that's a really I like that comparison as far as he can move. Daniel Jones is probably a better. He's a better. Alex Smith was a really good athlete too. Daniel Jones is like he's outstanding athletically. I mean, it's what he does best. His legs make him like they should. I mean, he could be like Hurts. I mean, they could use him like Hurts if he committed to his legs like that.
It's probably
But
what they do. I mean, you might as well.
because they're both Hurts is more of a straight ahead runner. You know, he's not a real like Lamar is like Shady McCoy. Those Lamar is special off the charts, right? You don't find those guys. But those straight ahead runners with speed, that's Daniel Jones. That's Alex Smith. Jalen Hurts is straight ahead. He's not a make you miss guy. He takes some shots. Um, and that's always concerning. Like Cam Newton took a lot of shots, you know, as a big runner, straight ahead.
Hurts is eligible. He's going to break the bank. He wants to break the bank. AJ Brown wants him to break the bank. Not to completely switch gears here, but
No, you that's a good
it's
one.
about to get interesting for Howie Roseman
It's
and the
not.
Eagles.
It's not going to get interesting. He's he's going to have to do
I'm
it.
saying no, he'll do it.
Oh,
I'm saying it gets interesting in that
oh,
they're,
the
it's going to
money's
be
about to
harder once you pay that
and,
money.
and go full circle, Tyler, to what we always talk about: the window of opportunity when you're the Eagles and you were playing against an injured Patrick Mahomes and you were up 10. You can't forget those moments. Just like the Bills will never forget 13 seconds, the Eagles are always going to have to look at that moment in the Super Bowl. That was their Super Bowl to win. And just like that Bills game was theirs to beat the Chiefs. That was your game to win and you didn't.
Yep.
Eagles, that was your game to
Yep.
win. You didn't. Hard to get back. It's just hard to get back. That's not rocket science. That's just the facts. I
One
mean,
second, Jim.
you definitely I mean, you definitely believe in that window, don't you? Like as far as you
Oh
see it
yeah.
close, like you can see when teams starting to feel it. Like the Bills are going to start feeling it come the other way now. Like after you pay your quarterback, you've officially now you have to evaluate what did we do before the contract. All right, we made the move. Like if you're the Bills, yep, he got us to the championships. We're right on the brink.
Mm-hmm.
So you pay him. Eagles, Hurts got us there. You pay him, but you still haven't won one. Now you've paid him. Now this is your next 3 years, or the window shuts.
That's why this is I don't know if we've gone this long without bringing up the Buffalo Bills on a podcast, but
That was pretty long.
that was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
What a massive offseason for the Bills. And where do
Yeah.
you start? What do you do? We'll spend time getting into it these coming weeks and months, but they've got to Tremaine Edmonds, they got to figure out if they want him at what price. Stephon Diggs unhappy. You've got the cryptic post from his brother, and you do wonder. I haven't heard anything here. This is us just thinking. If he's unhappy about whatever, Diggs does have leverage in the fact they don't really have anybody else at receiver that terrifies the defense. So whatever he does want, he can probably get because Buffalo's not going to want to lose him. I mean, they just gave him a lot of money. What's the deal with him and the quarterback? Let's not make something into a big deal quite yet, but there could be some unhappiness there. These receivers, he Diggs himself has dropped a few breadcrumbs.
Yeah, Diggs would be. I would. That would be professionally. That would be a surprisingly strange move for me if Diggs would leave.
He's not going to want to leave Josh Allen at the end of the day.
Exactly. He's fine. Yeah, let's that Bills off season. That's for another pod. I think
Yes,
that requires some. I want to look at that. I want to be a little more, and I'd also like to hear from if we get some Twitter questions on the Bills off season too.
let us know.
I'd love to hear what some people are thinking. Yeah,
And just to keep kind of working backward before we wrap it up,
yeah.
Jim, Derek Carr, where does he go? What's reasonable? If you're running a team, are you interested? At what price? What shakes out with
Yeah,
him? We don't know what Aaron's going to do, but what makes sense Derek Carr wise?
Saints.
Ooh, I like that.
I like Saints for him. I
Veteran
think I
defense,
like that they've kept
going
Dennis
for it.
Allen. Dennis Allen, I've always respected him. Don't know him as a head coach, but when I worked with him in New Orleans, he was a position coach, but he was so always just outside the box. Very, as far as like he believes in analytics to a point, but yeah, I liked him as an evaluator too. I could see that being a fit. They need a Carr there, gives them some stability. Their defense is pretty good. They have Kamara. I like that for Carr.
You've got a lot of players, like
NFC,
not just they have some young players like Chris Olave, but the core of
he's
their
so
team
good.
are veterans. And
Good point.
Carr fits the
Good
direction of
point.
the team. You can talk yourself into winning the division and compete in the playoffs with Carr if you're the
You
Saints.
spent time. You spent time with the Demario Davis. You know how tough that defense has. Cam Jordan. Those are veteran tough guys.
Yeah.
They're like your Cam Haywards in Pittsburgh, where he's going to be the same every year. Like they're showing up, and you can't explain guys like that. They might not be the fastest, most athletic anymore, but nobody can mess with them. But that tells you that those guys still showing up. They believe in the franchise enough that they want to keep playing. Obviously, they want
Yeah.
the paycheck, but they believe enough that we have something here. Like we can still make a run. They know there might be a quarterback away. So that receiver is incredible, by the way. That was a great point by you. Olave. Whew.
Yeah, it's what a class
So
of
that would be a
receivers
good
that
one, I
was.
think. I think Carr would look good in New Orleans.
Carr, New Orleans. Daniel Jones stays with the Giants.
Yes. Aaron
Lamar gets his big
Rodgers.
deal with the Ravens. Aaron
Yes.
Rodgers, I'm going to say Jets.
I'm going retire.
You're going retired. Wow.
I'm guessing.
Wow. The same class as Tom Brady, same Hall of Fame. Okay. I'll say Jets.
I
I'll
love
say
him.
love in
I
Green
love
Bay.
Aaron Rodgers. I can't defend him anymore. I don't want to see him go anywhere else. I think it's time. I want to see Jordan Love play.
I like it. Okay. Did we miss any quarterback predictions? Those are the big guns. Baker Mayfield, we'll carve out 3 hours for him tomorrow. In my dream world, I'm Team Baker. There's a scenario there. You know what's wild? You know what team we didn't even talk about once? Somebody's gonna get left out of this quarterback carousel. I shouldn't say left out because they'll draft somebody. They'll draft somebody, and they'll just have to play that rookie very, very soon. But Carolina, they had Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. They did the veteran thing. They probably draft somebody, right? And then they just hope they get the right one.
Frank Reich. I mean, if he makes a pitch for Carr to that new
Frank
owner,
Reich just did the whole veteran thing. He went through he's not going to want to do that again.
I think he will.
Really? If it's Carr, maybe, but
Carr would be the stopgap because the guy they drafted got hurt, which is a setback. You can't rely on that. So I could see them going after Carr. Yeah. That division, think if you were that division.
Yeah.
If you're Carolina, I mean, you are Saints, you're a quarterback away. Who has one in that division?
And the Buccaneers are going to be in total rebuild.
Tampa, Atlanta still doesn't have a guy. They're waiting on that rookie from last year, Ritter.
I love this headline at Pro Football Talk, by the way. Will the 49ers try to get Tom Brady to end his second annual retirement?
Sure.
Let's get crazy. Let's get nuts.
I love it.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts, as the great George Costanza said.
It's a great one.
All right, Jim, that was a good show. Thank you so much for taking all this time and everything you've got going on with the XFL.
We all do. Everybody's life is busy. We got to talk. We got to talk football. We got to talk NFL sometimes.
Totally agree. Let's keep it going. Again, golongtd.com for the shows with Bob McGinn breaking down what Green Bay is going to do at quarterback. I've got my story on Jordan Love live at the site. I don't know if 7,000 words on Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers is for everybody, but I think you'll enjoy it. Talk to a lot of people. And it says a lot about the NFL and how you kind of seek a quarterback. But that's going to do it for us. Thanks so much for watching, for listening. We will catch you very, very soon.